on the stream tonight. Them attacking war and trade, all a murky down so the truth get displayed. Stock market rise and fall, how it really affect the small man now. When the leaders make decisions, Alan, watch close with precision. Deep analysis every week, giving voices to the ones who see. Audience calling from abroad, Nevis, St. Kitts, London Yard, Florida, Jamaica, to everybody locked in for the global view. Reason with the people now, search for the answers somehow. Every Monday we unite, knowledge shining through the night. Rain keep the fire blaze, conversation elevate. Alan lead the dialogue, breaking down the money. Quality time every Monday night. Alan keep the people minds ignite. Live reactions, facts inside. Rain keep the conversation bright. Quality time every Monday night. From the Caribbean to worldwide, I come and share, interact live. Everybody on the stream tonight. Quality time, quality time. Every Monday on the line. Quality time, quality time. Alan bring the facts tonight. Quality time, quality time. Rain keep the future bright. Come and share, subscribe tonight. Yeah. Real Entertainment Network worldwide. Quality time, quality time. Every Monday night, light. Quality time, quality time. Quality time, quality time. Quality time, quality time. Every Monday on the line. I don't bring the facts tonight. So the people read between the lines. Run live. Everybody tune in live. Global topics, deep analysis, audience interaction every night. I lump on the live stream shop, breaking down the news and the world affairs part. From the islands to the White House, every headline get dissected right now. No noise, no gimmick talk. Pure facts when Alan start walk. Economics, politics too. Caribbean lens on the global view. Shot a light up non-stop. Viewers calling, comments drop. Everybody got a voice tonight. Reasoning deep till the morning light. We now follow every trend. We are search the truth again. Real analytics, no pretend. Quality times of the standard again. Quality time every Monday night. Alan keep the people minds ignite. Live reaction, facts inside. Rain keep the conversation bright. Quality time every Monday night. From the Caribbean to worldwide, I come and share, interact live. Everybody on the stream tonight. Them attacking war and trade, all a murky down so the truth get displayed. Stock market rise and fall, how it really affect the small man now. When the leaders make decisions, Alan, watch close with precision. Deep analysis every week, giving voices to the ones who see. Audience calling from abroad, Nevis, St. Kitts, London Yard, Florida, Jamaica, to everybody locked in for the global view.
Yes, good evening, everybody. June 15, 2026. QT with Alan Powell. And we gonna kind of take it easy today. There's still some, some learning to do, but last week was kind of dense, and we're gonna slow down from that aspect there, in a sense, and getting into it from a different angle. More bite size today. Hopefully, during the course of this week, we are able to announce a guest. I'm very excited. I heard a show and I would have been raving about not the panelists but the host. And I recently reached out to the host and he agreed that he would join me one of these Mondays. So hopefully that is able to happen. We're gonna have a discussion. I'm very happy, very excited about that. And I hope that that could be beneficial. We're gonna be covering a lot of the things that we talk about on a regular basis. So I'm hoping, as I said, that that would be a wonderful circumstance. I hope that everybody is hearing me okay. Uh, don't have too much of yapping. Really gonna really intend to get into it. If anybody happen to be from the New York area, though, first of all, congratulations on the Knicks winning the championship. I thought I would laugh after I forever. But in my lifetime, I win one. So that did indeed happen. And it's good that the Spurs end up, they need some couple more L's in the finals too. So that was a good thing will come out there. But if you were able to attend the diaspora meeting and you have any feedback on anything that was learned, I was so shocked with the amount of advertisement, and I have not actually seen any videos of the diaspora meeting. I don't know if it's because my mind was on other things this weekend, but I can't recall seeing no meeting, no word from that. I don't know how the attendance was. I don't know what was the particular purpose of the visit, but it did indeed happen. That's the least what I could say. It did happen for real. Anyway, the last thing what we're gonna do today is we're gonna just listen to Miss Patricia Bartlett. Last week she was on Your Voice, and I want to analyze so that perhaps I could say my perspective on certain things, and people could pull me back and tell me, Alan, you're wrong. Alan, you're being too harsh. Alan, you don't have any point at all. Anything like us would work for me. I'm willing to be incorrect. I'm willing to learn new things. The first place where I'm gonna start actually, you know, I'm gonna start off with this gentleman. He was able to do a good synopsis, in my opinion, of what is gonna be faced this summer. I feel like he put several conversations that we've already had into one thing. Did it very good, and it might be good to start off. This is like a summary of what you're gonna be facing for the rest of the summer and throughout the year, realistically. So let's hear this man Ernesto Cook.
Right now, the world's attention is locked onto the Middle East. I
Oh,
believe
Mr.
many of
Cook.
you remember Operation Epic Fury, the war between
Let me not
Iran
make
and
sure
Israel
that
and the
your
United
volume is
States.
on yet.
It has escalated again, and it is, and it has.
Let's see. Okay, we should be good to go.
Right now, the world's attention is locked onto the Middle East. I believe many of you remember Operation Epic Fury, the war between Iran and Israel and the United States. It has escalated again, and it has escalated into a.
So I could pause right here. So tell you, yeah, this is a few days old. So he's speaking about the war in Iran. I know that today, at least yesterday, it was announced that it is officially over. From what I'm hearing is it's more of an extension of the ceasefire, a 60-day extension of the ceasefire, and they're gonna be negotiating about the nuclear material. But that doesn't doesn't take away from the essence of what he's gonna say overall.
Brutal summer conflict. We are seeing the headlines about missile strikes again, close of the Straits of Hormuz, and the global superpowers are again facing off. Now, if you live in Barbados, in Jamaica, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Grenada, Dominica, Guyana, anywhere across the Caribbean, you might think that a war in the Persian Gulf is someone else's problem. Well, it's not. It's because of this unique structural vulnerability. The Caribbean is on the verge of facing one of the most devastating economic summers in its modern history. I think today I am going to try to break down what I call the butterfly effect of the 2026 Middle East war and why our small island nations are about to pay the heaviest price for a conflict they have absolutely nothing to do with. Now, to understand why the Caribbean is so vulnerable, you have to understand how these islands survive. They do not build or grow most of what they consume. And I think by now you understand such. The Caribbean is one of the most import dependent regions on earth. And across CARICOM nation, the islands import more than 60 to 80% of the food they eat. Just get that in and you'll understand. In places like the Cayman Islands or the Bahamas, that number actually shoots past 90%.
Well, all of these are things that we know. This is why we would have heard every agriculture minister say that they are gonna be the one to lessen the importing of food. But this is a general feature that you find in the Caribbean. It's not a bug. It's not a error. This is how the thing literally set up to import most of the food.
Now, this is not an accident in itself, it's a legacy of colonial history where local agriculture was historically wiped out to grow, the cash crops like sugar and tobacco. And today, that land has largely been converted into luxury tourism. The region relies entirely on buying its food, medicine, consumer goods from external markets, primarily the United States. So, whenever you have this massive geopolitical shock that hits global trade, like what's happening now, the countries that sell to the Caribbean raise their prices. And because the islands have almost no domestic backup production, they're forced to observe 100% of that inflation. Now, let's talk about.
I was discussing today with my partner, and I say one of the strange things that we have is that we consistently hear if tropical does not come, country is in trouble. And yet still there has not been any attempt to diversify to, for example, by beef from South America. When you have other countries who are buying beef from South America, buying other products as well, but I just bring it up as an example. And the key thing to understand is that when you have multiple trade partners, then when you look at the situation and you say, well, our traffic will not come today, I guess we're going to have to double up from what we're getting from Brazil, from what we're getting from Mexico, from what we're getting from, XYZ country within the region. So it is kind of strange, not just that there is such a heavy dependence on trade, but that there is essentially one reliable trade partner, which makes it doubly more sensitive if there is a shock.
Trigger. When Iran de facto closed the Straits of Hormuz, it shut down the transit route for roughly one fifth of the world's oil and 20% of its liquefied natural gas. The International Energy Agency called this the greatest energy security challenge in history. As a matter of fact, the Brent crude oil immediately surged past 110 to 120 a barrel. So, how does a closed strait in the Middle East break the Caribbean budget? Let me tell you what happens. It triggers a double whammy. What do I mean? Well, first, most Caribbean islands generate electricity using imported diesel or heavy fuel. So, when the global oil spikes, electric bills in the Caribbean skyrocket almost instantly. Second, just consider maritime logistics.
I want to stop there to say I could see how certain things, if a party had a way, it would have been beneficial. And I'm talking about whether it's CCM and NRP or whoever you want. Because at one point in time, NRP wanted to do have a refinery and wanted to store petroleum and petroleum products. You could see how that would have been beneficial right now in terms of Guyana, got a bunch of petroleum. Uh, Venezuela has a bunch of petroleum. So, and you could see how because we still use those type of well, we use that for energy. You could see how it would have been beneficial because if you do have the capacity to refine it or to store it, there will still be some kind of use for you eventually. So I could see how that would have been a beneficial thing. In the same way now how and anyway, let me not even say that. But just because he talking about the gas, it make me remember that circumstance.
Ships traveling from Europe or Asia, avoiding the regional conflict zones and rerouting around the Cape of Good Hope. Well, just combine that with a 59% surge in global ship fuel cost and maritime freight rates, which are breaking records at this point. Every single container ship sailing into a Caribbean port this summer is carrying goods that cost twice as much just to move them. I guess you're getting the picture now. But
And that would be as he say, longer routes. If you gotta go far, you work with less packages, you gotta go more um oil and that type of stuff, which is more expensive. All of that, as we have said previously, are things that are carrying up the price for regular goods, not just petroleum at this point. I guess is everything gone up as a
the
result.
most terrifying element of this summer's crisis is not actually oil, it's agriculture, something that a lot of us have been ignoring. The Middle East is not just an energy hub, it's a global powerhouse for fertilizer, the components of fertilizer as well. The, the war has effectively halted 30% of global fertilizer trade, including
In my mind, this is the opportunity that I have not heard grasp in any Caribbean territory. I feel like there is the possibility to get some kind of testing regime in place. Because you know you got to test. But we have so many traditional farmers who don't necessarily use the fertilizer that is being sold in stores. But we need now, in my opinion, to tap into this to start to test the different manures that we have to make sure that they're clean. There are no diseases that could be found in them. And at that moment in time, we need to start to produce fertilizer I would say domestically at first, and if it become a situation where you really can industrialize it, I see how there is gonna be a massive fertilizer market. But that's just a stupid thought.
In massive chunks of the world's urea and phosphate. Think about that for a moment. Huh? Agricultural economists note that fertilizer shortages work on a 6 to 9 month lag. And so the disruptions we saw during the spring planting seasons in the US, in Europe, are now hitting the global food supply. And since the Caribbean imported staples like the poultry, the dairy, the wheat, and the soy from big agro exporters like the US and Brazil, islands are facing a brutal reality. Local wages will simply not be able to keep pace with 40 to 120% spike in basic dietary necessities.
If there is 40 to 120% spike in necessities, the people who are gonna be ringing the bell, this is gonna be the last bell them are ring for a while. Next time bell will be ringing for them.
To make matters worse, this economic shock is colliding with two pre existing regional vulnerabilities. Remember, tourism and the sovereign debts that these islands have. When fuel prices soar, the airline tickets get what? Widely expensive. Central banks around the world, they're keeping interest rates high to fight this new wave of inflation. And so this means that consumers in North America and Europe have less disposable income. That means less money is coming back to the region. And so the result would be a softening demand for international travel, squeezing the Caribbean main economic engine right when they need foreign currency.
And I would like to also add to that. Currently, there has been a shortage or a downturn because right now the biggest sporting event in the world is occurring in the United States, which is the Football World Cup. And there has been a shortage in terms of, and no, shortage is not the right word. The occupancy rate for the hotels has been low, much lower than anticipated. This is, as I tell you, is the most popular sport in the world. It's the most important tournament in the world, and nobody's coming. Nobody's traveling. I think they say the United States is down 40% on tourism, which is why a couple of weeks ago, I'm not trying to hate on Miss Marsha Henderson, anybody's tactics. I was just simply trying to point out that maybe the timing of her announcements and the big push forward by the Labour Party is not in the right time to benefit from that type of circumstance. You want to push when money is flowing and people really thinking globalization rather than the circumstances that we have arisen at this particular moment in time. So it may just be bad timing, but I do think that it is worth looking at, especially since most planes we're gonna have to pay for the empty seats. So if there are more empty seats, 30% more empty seats than usual, it could be really bad for the Labour Party.
The most. Now, at the exact time, governments across the region are running out of fiscal space. I'm not sure if you heard about that. They're trapped right now. If they do not subsidize the food and the fuel, their citizens will face cost of living catastrophe. But if they do subsidize them, they are going to take on what we call unsustainable debt at a time when
And Prince Swan been singing a song like that, then he in Catch 22. And Catch 22 is If you go right, you mash up. If you go left, you mash up still. And you just got to do what you got to do. So I definitely feel like the Labour government has chosen the levy subsidize everything that is in accordance with their principles, and that gonna get you brokes, and the consumer citizen movement also in accordance with their principles in subsidizing nothing, which will also get you in trouble, but which is actually the correct thing to do for the most part. You go do some things around that for it to be 100%, but fundamentally the right thing to do.
Borrowing money globally has never been more expensive. This summer is going to be a massive test of economic endurance for the Caribbean. It's proof that in a hyper connected world, geopolitical isolation is an illusion. Because many people still say that we are living in the Caribbean and has nothing really to do with us. But if there's a silver lining, it's that this crisis is forcing, I believe, an urgent rethink among the leaders. I'm hearing them across the region now pushing for CARICOM 25 by 2030. That should have been done a long time ago. But I guess better late than never. Of course, that's an initiative aimed at cutting food imports by 25%, by rebuilding local farming networks and rapidly scaling up the domestic solar and wind energy.
Maybe tell the Rastaman them from instance 2022 type of setting, how this thing gonna go. How the 25 by 25 is a fake thing. They're gonna just kick the can down the road till 2030. And he ain't saying it with as much sarcasm as me, with as much condescension as me. But it's basically the same thing he answered.
To break the tyranny of imported oil. Well, the transition cannot happen overnight, And this summer will be very painful. But it may just be the final historical push the Caribbean needs to finally break free from the import trap. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Leave your comment in the section below. All right.
It could be also so because you gonna start off with spending some money. You better believe music festival coming, but it's after that rally that is when things really gonna get interesting. Anyway, we're coming back with some El Nino coverage. You're staying in the weather segment. While the hat we're gonna deal with the any El Nino aspect.
U.S. forecasters say El Nino weather.
No. Yeah, that's my guy, but it was the wrong screen. Okay.
Conditions have arrived, and this year's event is likely to be one of the strongest ever. El Nino is a natural phenomenon that warms surface water temperatures in the Pacific Ocean, changing global wind and rainfall patterns. Scientists expect it to reach historic intensity in the coming months. The UN is warning the world to prepare for the impact of extreme and erratic weather. Matthew Capuccio, we are happy to bring in. He's a meteorologist, reporter, and storm chaser, and he joins us for more on this weather phenomenon. Matthew, El Nino is a term viewers hear every few years, but can you remind us in plain terms what is actually happening in the Pacific Ocean that triggers such widespread disruption around the world?
That's a great question. So El Nino and La Nina are two sides of the same coin. They're opposites. And every 2 to 7 years, it's like a pendulum going back and forth between these two opposites. They make up ENSO, or the El Nino Southern Oscillation, which begins in the Pacific. During an El Nino pattern, you have westerly winds at the equator that push warm
them say every 2 to 7 years, but I feel like every year of my life has been El Nino.
Surface water eastward. So you wind up with this pool of warm water in the eastern tropical Pacific. It does a couple things. Namely, it warms the air above, causing that air to rise, and in turn, kind of influencing the position of key weather systems in the atmosphere. It also affects the oceans. Interestingly, off the west coast of Southern America, you have a reduced upwelling of the cold waters below because they're kind of squashed by that warm water above. So you get, believe it or not, less nutrient-rich water rising and less fishing down there during El Nino patterns. But in any case, the entire world's weather will be influenced by El Nino. El Nino is sort of an expression of heat. You know, you're taking this heat energy that's ordinarily trapped in the ocean and fluxing some of it into the atmosphere, and it is likely that that, coupled with the effects of climate change, will help next year perhaps be the warmest year on record.
And as a result of that uncertainty, we're seeing communities from sub-Saharan
So you want to tell me that next year are gonna be hotter than this year, yes or so? So why is it a bun me feels bun half right now, no? Just because the place hot. This is unacceptable.
Africa to Southeast Asia already bracing for impact. How severe could this one be, and what regions are likely facing the most intense fallout?
Yeah, so El Nino and scrambling weather patterns around the world causes different effects pretty much everywhere you go. In some places, increased risks of flooding, other places, increased risk of drought. As for where it's going to be hotter and drier than average, we're expecting Southeast Asia, Australia, Southern Africa, and perhaps portions of South and Central America as well. Interestingly, the Pacific, meanwhile, will likely see increased hurricane activity because that warm water in the Pacific warms the air above. You get that air to rise. Conversely, in the Atlantic, what goes up must come down. So air begins to sink in the Atlantic, squashing hurricane activity, which is great news for folks like the United States, like the Bahamas, like the Lesser and Greater Antilles, which have been hit hard by hurricanes and
So that's a wonderful thing. There is a plus coming out of this thing. So it does not seem like hurricane is gonna be a factor. No, I would assume just all weatherman will tell you. No, me not tell you not 100%. But I would expect that mean that there is a reasonable chance that things gonna be calm. We're not gonna get down in the tea with name. Having said that, that sound like you mean the drought is on for real. So this could be a dry wet season.
recent years. And believe it or not, in the United States, the wintertime, this upcoming winter, likely to be a little warmer than drier than average. But the southern United States, especially Florida, might see increased tornado activity. So it's not even necessarily that the weather's bad everywhere. It's more just kind of a dramatic change. And the fact that this upcoming El Nino is expected to be historically strong since we began record keeping back in 1950 means the impacts will likely be more severe than typical.
Matthew, given what we know about the intensifying relationship between El Nino cycles and climate change, are these events becoming stronger, more frequent, or both? And should we recalibrate what we consider a normal El Nino?
That is one of the best questions I've ever been asked on television. It's so nuanced, and let's break it down. So the way that we categorize an El Nino is based on the water temperature anomalies in this imaginary box in the Pacific called the Nino 3.4 region. Imagine you just drew a big rectangle through the equatorial Pacific. And when water temperatures there are more than half a degree Celsius above average for about 5 months in a row, we say, yeah, an El Nino has begun. However, the tricky part is nowadays the world is warming thanks to climate change, so much so that it's becoming increasingly difficult to parse out the signal of El Nino. You know, what's El Nino warming versus what's ordinary climate warming. So now we as scientists have invented a new index called RONI, or the Relative Oceanic Nino Index, to basically try to separate the water temperature anomalies in that box from averages across the entire world. So that's one thing that's been tricky. But I will say, the effects of human-induced climate change added atop a backdrop of a potentially significant or even record-breaking El Nino will likely push us into record territory for global temperatures this upcoming year. And as we know, when it comes to societal vulnerability, heat extremes are really high up there on the list of things that can affect vulnerable populations.
Interesting and eerie. Finally, Matthew, what should governments and disaster agencies, especially in the developing world where infrastructure is most challenged, what is the single most urgent action they should be taking now while they have time?
I think two things for me come to mind. Number one is agriculture. The fact that El Nino can change precipitation patterns, and in some cases quite dramatically do so, will potentially require some relief. I mean, areas that
Okay. Okay. Uh, the gentleman is gonna answer because that's a valid question, and the answer to this question is really giving you something to think about when you're looking at whoever is running your country. If they are responding, if they are prioritizing what the senior meteorologist is saying, they are being a responsible government. They're seeing the big picture and they're moving accordingly. That is wonderful. It would appear to me, however, the premier ain't gonna be a fan of this, but with the amount of water that will be required for geothermal, as I have been saying, it that does not feel to me like geothermal is gonna be happening this year. Just 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 the water aspect. I can't see it. Not gonna be able to do it. It's gonna be more important that people have water to drink than machines. But we shall see.
are typically used to seeing very heavy rainfall may see less or more, or vice versa. So it's going to be down to local level on how governments want to mitigate that and really help out as much as they can. But that's one issue. And then the other one for me is just the fact that we're more likely to have heat extremes. El Ninos oftentimes can exacerbate blocking high pressure systems, and those high pressure heat domes can bring well hotter than average temperatures. The fact that we're more likely to see that in an era where already heat extremes are becoming very taxing on various populations, that concerns me a lot. So I'd say, especially in like Europe, for example, you might need more cooling shelters next summertime as El Nino really becomes entrenched.
Always learn.
Ginger, Ginger, relax yourself. Hey. But I, I spoke about the well no. Sometimes it look like me a mix up conversation when me I go with my partner with this. But if you let's just say you could combine the heat stations with with tourism things actually and get really nice outcomes. But yeah, hydration stations necessary, particularly with the fact that there are summer festivals and we're asking people to go out there in the heat. It is important to bear in mind that this is the beginning of El Nino and it is likely to be hotter even than where you're accustomed to. And where you're accustomed to hot.
From you, Matthew Capuccio. Thank you.
Mama, let me go down by the terminal because SK bill. Yeah, one thing with SK, they got money and they're spending. So let me see what the latest.
The announcement of moving St. Kitts into another phase of the cruise industry, the Urban Development Corporation began preparations that will lead to the construction of a modern cruise terminal at Port Zanzibar. According to Kerisia Nero, Chief Executive Officer of the Urban Development Corporation, the facility will bring an environmental change and long-term impact on the country's development. The UDC Chief Executive Officer commented on the project that has to be ready in time for the 2027 cruise tourism season.
Building something this big.
So And them pictures the way you see is actual pictures of escalate good on pan camera. Um, them the commitment that I'm hearing here is that once again they are gonna make an improvement for the sake of tourists. And when I look down at the pier that the locals got to use, I don't see the same level of investment. Even if we want to say, well, okay, the the bars and so down on the pier are gonna be wooden structures. There needs to be something in place, we say, and this structure is gonna be replaced every 8 years, every 6 years, every how many different amount of years, because it's important, because this is a port of entry. People come here, they engage here, and so we're always gonna keep down here fresh. Mind you, a board I got them people here, a board shop them every structure that they build for the Europeans who are about to come through here are gonna be concrete, solid as a rock. Which is why I'm looking around and I'm wondering how the people of Singits look at this. Because I'm not knocking the fact that you are doing a tremendous amount for tourists. But what do the people of tongue, people of Bastia, I feel like I really get your money what? I feel like y'all are being respected. Think about Bastia High. Think about tongue right now. Do you feel like you're seeing development and a vision to really change Singits? Every now and again you get like a fast food place. Subway is enough. Rituals is enough. Salitech. Is there supposed to be some kind of collective advancement? I just found this new cruise thing interesting. The lengths that the government will go to ensure that tourists have proper infrastructure and facilities versus what I just see on the other end.
Inevitably means change. We ask that you please bear with us as we begin to clear a portion of the land on the eastern side of the port to accommodate the new home porting terminal. This is not a short-term project. It is a long-term investment undertaken in close partnership with our sister agency, SCASPA. The transformation it will enable is profound. This terminal will deepen St. position in the cruise sector, moving us from a transit port to a true home port destination. The benefits will include overnight stays, greater passenger spending, and increased economic impact for the entire island. We are building for the next decade, not just for the next season.
You got set of people who just stay in the country and spend in the country way more than tourism. Is the people that know who live there. Go do it all the time. And I also feel like the making these facilities better. Gonna encourage people and say, man, let me go on Nevis for a day. And it gonna put pressure also on Nevis to have equally good facilities so that people go say, me never gotta come back on Nevis. Nevis look kinda shaky. The Nevis got to go step up the game as well.
Home porting will provide additional economic activity while sector stakeholders work toward Port Zante being redesignated as a market port in the Eastern Caribbean. Then back reporting for Television Caribbean, TVC Channel 40.
Okay, we're getting back to my guy Ernesto. And hear about the state of emergency in Trinidad. And while most people feel like Jamaica is the most violent place in the Caribbean, you could get me walk up and down Jamaica any time of day. Trinidad, you better walk up and down with manners.
Sleeping, a decision was made, and there was no fanfare, no public consultation before, just the striking of a gavel in the dead of night. I made it my business to stay up. That is why I keep telling you to share this channel and subscribe. Watch these videos till the end so YouTube could push the channel.
And just like a YB here say, thank you for liking Real Entertainment Network. Thank you for liking all of the shows, interacting, listening, and you also remember to like, share, and subscribe, and comment and interact with the pages. There's also Instagram. Have many pictures over there from different activities that happen. So as he said, like, share, and subscribe. Good for the algorithm.
At exactly 12:27 a.m., while the rest of Trinidad and Tobago slept, the government forced through a midnight vote. The result? The state of emergency is not ending. It's being locked down until September. They tell you it's about crime. They tell you it's for your protection. But if this is just standard procedure, why wait until midnight to take away your freedom? If you haven't seen the news yet, well, pull up a chair because things just got very, very real.
I would say I appreciate Trinidad Parliament for actually being in Parliament at them kind of time there. I see some ministers who feel like when 4 o'clock reach, them ready to go home. 4 and 5 and so they would tell you, "Bye, I was in Parliament until night." You wanna impress me? Do like a Trinidad. I'm being Parliament from morning until the nether morning, and got to go back in again. And I gonna feel like, yeah, you're working for the people. Nothing kind of chopping is what me to see.
You see, the United National Congress government just secured a majority vote to extend the state of emergency for another 3 months. They did it with 26 UNC MPs and 2 TTP MPs backing them. The opposition PNM fought it, voting against it, but of course they were outnumbered. Now, let's look at the official narrative that's coming out of the government. The Attorney General, John Jeremy, stood up and said the SOE is working. He pointed to fall in murder rates. He claimed they were.
By the way, SOE mean state of emergency. Alan, a brother from Sinky stated this morning on a radio station there that he just lost a nephew shot dead, Jamaica. His car got disabled, person rolled on him. It seems maybe a robbery gone bad. Sir, I'm not telling you that Jamaica does not have violence. That is not my point of contention. I'm telling you, as a man who has been to Trinidad and been to Jamaica for extensive periods of time, I'm gonna take my chances in Kingston. I would take my chances in country. It's only one place I don't wanna be in Jamaica, you know? And a Spanish town when night time come. Trinidad, you got places where me no want go in at the daytime. That's all I'm saying. And I'm gonna forever get pushed back.
Saving the country from turning into the next Haiti. Interesting. And the Prime Minister, well, she publicly defended the move, saying, and I quote, "No rights are absolute." Very interesting, isn't it? Think about that phrase for a second. No rights are absolute.
I have no idea how Kamala Bissessa get Trinidadians to follow she when she done made them kind of statements. But
Well, here is where the story starts to fracture as I listened. Look at the timeline. Between the first SOE in 2025 and this current one, Trinidad and Tobago has spent a staggering 296 days and counting under emergency powers. This is not a temporary measure anymore. This is becoming a lifestyle. This is becoming what you call a governance by decree. And the question we have to ask is, what are they actually hiding behind the curtain of national security? So a lot of you are not thinking, you're not looking through these things properly. If you look closely at the shouting match that happened right before the midnight vote, the cracks in this whole narrative started to show. I'll explain to you why. Opposition leader Penelope Beckles stood up and dropped the bomb. She openly challenged the government, demanding to know why they are so utterly obsessed with the 1%. She practically dared the Attorney General to step outside the safety of parliamentary privilege and say what he was implying. This is crazy, you know. And what was the AG implying? Well, he brought up a special report. He started hitting at people or hinting at people having issues with their international visas. He talked about people putting money in brown paper bags. You see, a lot of people don't stay up in the midnight hours to look at Parliament or listen to anything, you know. It's difficult. The ordinary man don't care about that, but I have to. Is the SOE actually about street gangs, or is it a weapon being used in a massive, I would say, high-stakes political extortion game involving the wealthiest elites of the country and foreign intelligence? Think about it. An SOE grants the state sweeping powers, right? Section 500 meter, no protest zones have already been established, making it literally illegal to publicly assemble or voice discontent near government centers. Keep that in mind. They have paralyzed the public's ability to protest, while behind closed doors, they are weaponizing special reports against their political and financial rivals. You didn't think about that, did you? But it goes deeper than the local politics. Let's look at the timing. Why mid-June? Why extend it specifically until September? Look at what else is happening globally right at this exact moment. On Thursday, June 11th, the exact same day
No, I was asking for a report. Anybody who is in the New York area who has been to the diaspora meeting could fill in other persons in the diaspora and also persons in Nevis who want to know why, what was the purpose of this. If anybody is able, let us know what's going on. Let us know if it was well attended, all these type of things. I would love to know.
this midnight vote passed, the global financial markets were preparing for a massive SpaceX IPO on the NASDAQ. At the same time, international tensions regarding regional energy engagements are reaching a boiling point. At the same time, Trump was bombing Iran. The government has been quietly holding closed-door meetings regarding data sets of local and international threats to state security. You have to think deep when these things come up. And when asked previously if these emergency lockdowns were tied to international geopolitical tensions, the government apparently and vehemently denied it. As a matter of fact, they said it does not arise at all. That is what they said at the time. Well, for those of you who don't listen, history teaches us one thing. And the government goes out of its way to tell you two major events are not connected They usually are. So the question is, are we looking at local crime crackdown in Trinidad, or is it Trinidad and Tobago being locked down to secure critical infrastructure and prevent domestic uprising ahead of this massive shift we are seeing in global energy and financial sectors? A lot of questions that you have to ask your government. You have to also ask yourself these things. You have to read. You have to understand what is happening, because simply they want you to focus on the curfew. They want you to focus on the gang data. They want you accepting the idea that your fundamental rights are temporary.
On this story, I think is important because there are moments in time, if you are not paying attention, that your government may abuse you. In this particular case, from 2025 to right now, nearly a year, Trinidad has been in a state of emergency. First of all, if Trinidad is in a state of emergency for them like a time there, who cares what Kamala Bissasa Passad have to say? She really and truly need to be focusing on Trinidad, not CARICOM. She played full. She got everything to do right now. The 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 other circumstance, when we're looking at Trinidad, as I say, is the abuse of the state of emergency. So if we're gonna look at this and we're gonna say Trinidad has been under a state of emergency for basically 300 days now, then that's not a state of emergency, you know? That's how you live. And when you're under a state of emergency, you can't protest. You could get locked up without going by in front of a judge. It's are not what they would be in a regular circumstance. So there is room for abuse. I will be the first to say it. This MOU signed by Trump concerning the deal with Iran may be timely in relation to the midterm elections. I'm willing to bet you, not all the money in the world, but I'm willing to bet you that it will not be as timely as you expect it to be. Remember, just like how it take time for the effects to reach us, car is not like they block it and we start to feel the effect the next day. And in the same way, when it open up again, it gonna take time for us to feel the effects and the normalization. And in some cases, we're talking months to years because of damage that has been done to infrastructure over there.
But remember what the opposition warned about. State of emergency was never meant to become permanent governance. And that is what is happening there. Remember, I already told you, it's over 298 days you've been on this. And as my friend said last night, when the sun goes down and the streets go quiet under the weight of the state, who's really running the country? And that is the question. Who is really running the country? What happens when September comes and they decide 3 months more or 3 months is not enough? Well, it's up to you. You can leave your comments and your thoughts in the section below. Who is the 1% they are hiding? What really is in this special report? Because I've never seen it. And as always, like I tell you to subscribe to the channel.
Okay. We're going Jamaica now for some rare earths. Jamaica look like them are gonna get rich, you know.
While everyone chases lithium, America is quietly racing to lock down Jamaica's vast bauxite reserves, the critical material that could power the next wave of electric vehicles and secure the U.S. aluminum supply. Billions in geopolitics are on the line right now. Today we reveal how this Caribbean resource could reshape America's EV future and bring massive new wealth to Jamaica. Welcome back to the channel, where we uncover the real stories behind.
So if you're with me, 'cause really and truly, I don't see some lowering of gas prices, and I was shocked already. But in my mind, indeed, it gonna go down in time. But the question is how much time. And okay, it's two things I wanna add to the equation. I'm not gonna leave your point. 'Cause the point you're making is a point that has to do with petroleum and petroleum products. But we also have to think about the other items that were coming out of there. Mentioned in another video, the fertilizer, for example, that was coming out of there. Let me make sure that. Yeah, the fertilizer that was coming out of there. Other products that were coming out of there. You know what? Let me let this apply to reaching.
Behind critical minerals, supply chains, and opportunities that most media overlooks. If you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications. Our recent videos on Guyana's copper discovery have been blowing up because these mineral plays actually move markets and nations. Today we're asking, is the United States actively working to secure Jamaica's bauxite to fuel the electric vehicle revolution and reduce risky dependence on distant suppliers? The answer is yes, and the shift is happening faster than most people realize. Jamaica sits on some of the highest quality bauxite in the Western Hemisphere. Bauxite is the main ore used to produce aluminum, and aluminum has become essential for lightweighting EVs, aerospace, renewable energy infrastructure, and modern manufacturing. As America pushes hard for nearshoring and friendshoring of critical minerals, Jamaica, just a short distance away, is perfectly positioned to become a key partner once again. In this video, we'll cover the history, the current resurgence, new investments, environmental angles, economic potential, and what this all means for both Jamaican and American futures. If you're watching from Jamaica, stay tuned for a special viewer question that I want you to answer in the comments. Bauxite is a reddish rock rich in aluminum hydroxide. After refining into alumina and smelting into aluminum, it becomes one of the most important industrial metals on Earth. Roughly 2 to 3 tons of bauxite are needed to produce 1 ton of aluminum, depending on ore quality. The demand surge right now is being driven heavily by electric vehicles. EVs use significantly more aluminum than gasoline cars, often 25% or more of the vehicle's weight. Aluminum is lightweight, strong, corrosion resistant, and excellent for heat management in batteries and motors. Every 10% reduction in vehicle weight can improve efficiency and range by 6 to 8%. That makes aluminum a game changer for meeting EV performance targets. Major automakers including Tesla, Ford, GM, and Rivian are dramatically increasing aluminum content in frames, battery enclosures, bodies, wheels, and cooling systems. Aerospace manufacturers and renewable energy projects need even more. Solar panel frames, wind turbine components, transmission lines, and charging infrastructure all rely on aluminum. The United States now produces very little primary aluminum domestically because of high energy costs. It depends heavily on imports for bauxite, alumina, and finished aluminum. Nearshoring makes strategic sense. Shorter shipping distances mean lower costs, fewer disruptions, and reduced exposure to geopolitical risks. Jamaica, with its long history as a reliable supplier and strong reserves, fits this strategy perfectly. Jamaica's bauxite is known for good alumina content and relative.
I was saying, aluminum is not the rare earth, so we have not gotten to the rare earth aspect yet. The aluminum, Jamaica has been getting aluminum money for years, so they done about a long time. And to answer Paul's question, I was saying the other aspect of the deal, understanding that the gas gonna take time. The other aspect is the nuclear material, and whether or not America is safer now and will have a better deal than before the war started. If you have persons who are attacking the G, saying that this is worse than the Obama deal, it's not going to be wonderful for the midterm. So, it is different ways to look at this here circumstance.
Relatively straightforward processing. The island's reserves are estimated in the billions of tons, enough to support decades of expanded production. Jamaica's bauxite story began in the 1950s. Commercial exports started in 1952, and by the late 1950s, the country had become one of the world's leading producers. Production peaked in the 1970s with over 14 million tons per year, making bauxite a cornerstone of the Jamaican economy and a major source of foreign exchange and jobs. Those boom years brought infrastructure development, employment, and government revenue, but also challenges: energy-intensive processing, environmental impacts, price volatility, and shifting global competition. Over time, output declined as Australia, Guinea, China, and others ramped up production, and some Jamaican operations faced closures or reduced capacity. Yet the resource base never disappeared. In recent years, Jamaica has produced around 4 to 6 million tons of bauxite annually, with alumina output recovering to over 1.3 million tons. Export earnings have reached hundreds of millions of US dollars. Major operators include Jamalco with US-based Century Aluminum involvement, Windalco, Discovery Bauxite, and others. The foundation for a comeback is clearly still there. This is where the story gets especially interesting. Recent data shows US imports of Jamaican alumina have more than doubled in certain periods, with hundreds of thousands of tons moving to American facilities. Century Aluminum's partnership in Jamalco stands out as a strong signal of renewed US interest. Discovery Bauxite has been supplying the Gramercy Alumina refinery in Louisiana with an
remember, Bull, is Republicans you hear in a cuss, and I said that that deal here was than the Obama deal, and if it's one person, Donald Trump ain't want to be what's done is Obama. Oh my God, Real Entertainment Network. You're doing a bit too much, my brother. My birthday is in October. So it's my Facebook birthday for sure. People supposed to know, but I know what to, but they make the Facebook one and the real one. The one when they me born and the one when me hatch.
announced upgrades and expansions. There are active discussions and investments aimed at restarting idle capacity and modernizing operations. This aligns with broader US policy goals of friend-shoring critical minerals, strengthening Western Hemisphere supply chains, and reducing reliance on dominant players like China in aluminum processing. For the US, this is pragmatic strategy. Aluminum is vital for meeting EV production targets, defense needs, and infrastructure goals. A stable, nearby Caribbean supplier shortens supply lines dramatically compared to shipping from Asia or Africa. Trade arrangements like Sabira give Jamaica advantages, and political stability in the region adds to the appeal. On the Jamaican side, new investments are targeting efficiency improvements, capacity growth, and greener technologies. Modernization could include better energy use, reduced waste, especially red mud management, and moving further up the value chain, producing more finished or semi-finished aluminum products locally. Hundreds of millions to potentially billions in investment are being discussed, which could create thousands of direct and indirect jobs. For Jamaica, a sustained bauxite and alumina resurgence offers major economic upside. Higher production means increased royalties, taxes, and export earnings. Existing programs like the Bauxite Community Development Program already direct funds into local education, health, agriculture, and infrastructure projects. Scaling the industry could multiply these benefits. Beyond direct mining and refining, there are opportunities in logistics, services, skills training, and eventual downstream manufacturing. If Jamaica can combine U.S. partnerships with renewable energy development, solar and wind potential is strong, it could produce more competitive and even greener aluminum that commands premium prices on world markets. Of course, challenges exist: energy costs, environmental stewardship, community relations, and commodity price cycles. But with strategic investment and modernization, Jamaica has a genuine chance to bring back elements of the 1970s boom in a more
If Jamaica have a leader with sense, then they win out the game. LOL, the Facebook one make us well, the Facebook one is more prominent, you know. The Facebook one is definitely more prominent. You would not have believe. Cause me wake up this morning and to me not remember me say, oh, it's today's my birthday on Facebook. Yeah, it's tough.
sustainable and diversified way. To all our Jamaican viewers, you guys consistently watch these videos longer than average, and I really appreciate it. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you believe bauxite can regain its 1970s glory days for Jamaica? What would it take? Stronger local ownership, green mining technology, deeper US partnerships, or something else? What opportunities or concerns do you see in your own parish or community? Your comments help spark real discussion and help the algorithm reach more people. Let's get this conversation.
And I need you to know I'm very excited by the MOU. I have been saying that when Prime Minister sign a MOU, it is only slightly better than a piece of toilet paper. So I'm excited that this MOU come out so that I could kind of I'm excited to see what the effects are so that people could understand. 'Cause you got some labor people who are much more sensitive than I anticipated. And it gonna be good for them to see that no, I'm not licking out against I Prime Minister. No? Me just to tell her that if I you smart, I you supposed to know labor gonna last longer than Joe, long after Dr. Joe. Um, long after Dr. Joe, there will be labor.
Trending. Any expansion must be done responsibly. Jamaica already has institutions like the Jamaica Bauxite Institute focused on research, oversight, and best practices. Future projects should emphasize land reclamation, biodiversity protection, lower emissions, and improved waste management. Producing aluminum with a higher share of renewable energy could give Jamaican material a competitive edge in environmentally conscious markets. Geopolitically, this partnership strengthens ties between the US and Caribbean nations and builds more resilient North American supply chains. It reduces exposure to potential disruptions in other parts of the world. For Jamaica, working with multiple partners, including the US, while maintaining sovereignty, is a smart diversification strategy. Looking ahead, continued growth in EV adoption and aluminum demand, combined with nearshoring policies, positions
I want to tell her that up to now, that man not get to the rare earth, you know. So it seems like I have to get to it. So Jamaicans have realized that there is this water, this red water that they does hold after you process the aluminum. They had suspected because they had a film on the water, so they had suspected that there was something else, some minerals, something that potentially could be useful in this water. Upon testing, they have realized that there are rare earths. And if you know anything about rare earths, this is the big thing that is being fought over by major industrialized countries. The United States, and China as examples. Rare earths are stuff that you use to make magnets, for example. But it's a very tricky process. The thing is, rare earths are not rare. You could generally find them all over the place. The issue comes in with the extraction and then the processing, which is not good for your environment. Somehow, though, China has found a way to process it in a less in a way that it destroys the environment less, and they have been willing to make the sacrifice. As a result of this, they control over 90% of not the extraction but the processing and actual creation of these rare earth minerals. uh so that is why Jamaica is now looking at the fact that since they have these rare earths, they will have an additional product to bring to the market and essentially get more market share as a result. So that is the rare earth situation. Or I would not imagine no there's a way how Jamaica could do it. But I don't hear Jamaica and the Chinese in a proper light, and that's what you would have to do to really get this thing done. And fortunately, unfortunately, however they want to look at it, but beyond beyond finding the rare earths, I don't see Jamaica able to extract, and definitely I don't see Jamaica able to process, which would mean that they just end up unless America really does say, we're gonna get back into this thing because America did used to do it. So if they are able to really get back into it, it's possible. Um, well, we going to the last video, and if I'm being too harsh, if I'm being unreasonable, I want you to tell me because I was upset, and I find myself does be getting upset listening to politicians. We're gonna be listening to Miss Patricia Bartlett. She's gonna be running in the constituency that no party ever has ever lost this constituency in Nevis politics and farmed the government, St. John's. So we're gonna listen and see what's going on with Miss Bartlett. This is from last week on Your Voice. Oh my God, I apologize.
Though that our we have some regular listeners who would listen to everything that NRP puts out, and I'm starting to get some little nigglings coming out. People are being a little impatient because they're saying we didn't, and like I said, I note where they're coming from because they're ahead of the class. So they listen to Tell Me, they listen to Target, just listen to Your Voice with the NRP, and at the end of the day, they want more, and so they're saying, no, they're at the point.
See, is the PM still the chair of CARICOM? Because with all the issues going on around the region, I find there is a definite silence on many of the Caribbean issues. Well, since it's June, I think this is his last month in charge or in that particular role before it goes. I would imagine July to December would be the follow up term for whoever is gonna be taking over. But overall, no, we haven't heard anything from CARICOM. You know, let me give you some interesting. Let me ask you, how many people you feel like live in the Caribbean region? I give you all the islands and I give you Guyana. How much people you feel like live in the Caribbean? The Labour administration is planning to build another cruise pier for home porting. One day Dr. Joe mentioned that to Mark in that meeting they had. No mention of the details of that meeting destiny. No, we do not know the destiny of the meeting at all. We certainly don't know the destiny of the meeting. We have not heard. Uh, well, we have seen more pictures than what words we have actually seen. If something had happened, I would imagine we would have heard something. So I feel like Dr. Joe was successfully able to kick the can down the road a little further. And the premier is buying what Dr. Joe is selling. It could funny the big islands have these resources. Are they still not sharing with the smaller islands? Well, by them man gonna sell which part they could get the most money, you know. But certainly we does get things as well. I don't know that Jamaica actually make Jamaica has foil paper. Cause if they not got foil paper, I don't know what we could buy from them with regards to the aluminum. It would be up to them to start to create these different industries. But Jamaica, in my mind, suppose they got way more than the 2 million people that currently live upon it, closer to 30. Yeah, man, closer to 30. Massive amount of people supposed to be there.
No, where they want to see us roll out and tell people what we are going to do.
See there? So that they're just like in a make no in a no difference than if you sell the raw sugar cane and I sell raw iron ore. You got to be making a finished product, adding value to the product in order to really move up the value chain. This is the reason why the rest of the world is upset with China. Cause China they say, you know what? We're gonna start at the bottom and we only gonna make short. But now here we are. They are making more and more complicated items till now. I could remember when you used to hear made in China and laugh. And now you hear made in China and the quality is gonna be up there. I have my first point of contention with Miss Bartlett, similar to a point of contention I had a couple of months ago. She's saying that they don't want to rush. People are itching to hear their plans. You cannot sustain in any kind of politics if the campaign is only negative. Don't vote for them. Don't support this. Don't do that. You ain't gonna get people to buy into you like a song. You must have a plan and a vision. Otherwise, it never work. People are gonna sniff you out and them are gonna say you full of shit. Especially if they listen to this. So if they are not producing their own aluminum, they would not be able to trade to us because when them say trade iron aluminum ore to Antigua, well Antigua supposed to do it that day. The only circumstance, the only way how we could have truly make this thing proper is if it was sent to a, rather than a big nation, it was sent to a different Caribbean island, and that island turn it into a different product, package it. Those type of things would be able to bring some synergy and some value add, and in that way you could end up trade back with Jamaica or other places. But my simple point of contention right now with Miss Bartlett is, of course, people want to hear your plans. It is not enough to say, don't do this. Tell me what to do as well. It's necessary.
But we don't want to be premature in the work that we're doing, and we take it very seriously. And it's one thing for us to sit in the ballroom or in the boardroom and come up with all these ideas as to what it is we would want to do for our people. But at the end of the day, we need buy-in. We need people to know that we're representing their interests and not ours. Our vision must in some way align with their wishes. And so we are taking our time and we are listening.
I would go beyond that, and I would say, it's not that your vision should align with the people want to know. If we're going to do this representative democracy in the right way, the people's vision need to be yours.
With a view that when we're finished listening, then we will come up with our draft plan. And then, of course, we have to continue listening. We have to present our draft plan. We have to discuss. We have to modify when necessary. And so it's a process that some people, like I said, are ahead of the game. They're ahead of, they're in the front of the class and they want to move on. But they must recognize that there's some people who have not yet caught up. And so we're at the point where we want to make sure that everybody has a voice and we're listening to everyone. And in due course, because Ecclesiastes 3 says, for everything there is a season. And so this is seasonal. Right now, we're listening, then we'll get to the manifesto. We don't want to come up with a manifesto or start telling people things that they want to hear, but it's not realistic. And then when we sit down to put a manifesto together, we realize, based on the predicament we're in, the financial space that has been so limited, that the Premier would from time to time, allude to suggest that, well, it has been on fumes for quite a while now, and the Nevis budget.
It's now on fiscal gaps.
Well, fiscal gaps. Yes.
That's a new term.
That's a new term he's using now. Yeah. But notwithstanding, we just want to make sure that when we roll out, these things are realistic, they're achievable goals, and at the end of the day, we serve our people. And so some of the issues so far that we have been discussing that have been coming from our people, not necessarily by us, because we try not to steer the conversations. We listen and we sometimes have input here or there, So some of the issues.
Yeah, this I mean my next beef, yes, so. How can you tell me? Okay. Okay. How can you tell me that it is important and that the plans have to be realistic and budgeted, and at the same time there is no way throughout this conversation that Miss Patricia Bartlett is going to point out that the government has not yet produced a budget publicly for the people. That is not possible for you not to make that connection there. And this is what I'm saying. Only me asking for this circumstance. Even those who are in charge, those who are running for a seat, who would be in a who want to be in a position to make these kind of thing happen, they ain't asking for the information what gonna help them. Me are the one who ask. World Event intense weather brings us back to survival on the sister islands, food security. Trinidad said everyone see yes, this would prevent people protesting. Um, so it's just confusing to me. There is nowhere through the conversation that Pat is gonna mention that we ain't see the budget yet. The 2026 budget ain't available. You got to get links to see the 2026 budget. And that is nonsense and unacceptable. She's making the one connection without making the other. And ain't supposed to be that rough to do that simple thing. There, you're telling me is important. I don't know. Let it go on.
Jamaica well for sustained expansion. There may
And we have been encountering, destiny. Destiny is something that would never go away, and not anytime soon. And so far, one observation I've made is that I've not yet met anyone who is in favor of destiny.
Lies. This here is another set of nonsense. You wanna tell me you ain't nobody who support the Destiny Project? If that's what you're saying, then you're telling me you ain't have to know no supporters of the premier. Come on, let's be real. In the same way, when the premier they talk about no, he don't know nobody who really is against the project. Why we can't have real conversations about this thing? Not you don't know nobody who supported nonsense. And if you don't know anybody, it is your responsibility to go out there and find them and understand why does the destiny thing appeal to you? Because you could take those same people ideas and you need to address them. You can't just stick your head down in the sun and say, oh, nobody like this, yeah. It does appeal to certain people. Certain people do see opportunities that they could get out of it. And if you're gonna present an alternative, my God, one of the ways how you get to the alternative is to understand what it is that the people want. This is attractive to them. And then say, okay, I could see it. And now I'm gonna create a plan to address the circumstances that you're pointing out to me. Alan, just in another podcast right now, America is investing $500 million in a new embassy campus in Trinidad. I guess they are rewarding Trinidad. Definitely, sir. We have already seen Kamala. I don't know if she's married, but she husband got on already. No, she anything Trump said do, she is gonna do. No questions asked. They have bent over continuously. So she like YB, she getting.
Everyone who have met different levels of awareness, but they are not for destiny. And
Once again, it's nonsense. You can tell me that you meet people, that everybody who she met, none of them support destiny. It is nonsense. When the premier say everybody who him it support destiny, it is nonsense. Why we can't find somebody who willing to come in on a middle ground and just say the truth? Some people like it, some people not like it. In the same way how Pat need to go find people who support destiny and want destiny so that she could understand their perspective, the premier need to go find people who don't like it so that he could also address the fears that they have, the concerns that they have. This thing of politician sticking their head in the sand and say, "Oh, all of my black people tell me that they love me." All of my green people love me. Nonsense. It has to be nonsense. It should nearly be a rule. If you hear somebody speaking an absolute, then they're just wrong. They're just wrong.
Maybe it is because it is right in their backyard, because St. John's is right in, well, Destiny would be a part of St. John's, actually, a break off from St. John's. And so we've been engaging people who are not for Destiny. I've not done a poll. I'm not trying to suggest that all persons would have the same sentiment as we go around, but so far, all I can report that we have not had any support for Destiny. All right, so the Premier has been traversing the same
2026 budget being completed, shame on them. And we the people say nothing is madness. It is totally unacceptable. And when me tell you, it's not just the budget you can't find, not even the budget address. Totally unacceptable.
places that we've been, going, and I'm sure he would have encountered, similar sentiments if it is at all people are bold enough and recognize that they're the ones, who are in the driver's seat at this point in time, to at least level with him and let him know, how they feel about it. So that is a consideration for us, heavily. It's going to weigh heavily on the campaign going forward. Then education, we have had some educational concerns, and these are not just from parents and guardians or from other adults, or young adults or old adults. I've encountered some teachers who had some strong views as it relates to the state of education, and I was really taken aback as to how bad they're saying that things are. And I'm like, why is it nothing has been done up to this point? Isn't it that you guys don't get an opportunity to talk to the people in admin above you? And the response I've been getting is really to suggest that maybe there isn't, that appetite at the top for entertaining those kind of discussions, those adult type.
I wonder if I could see. I could see that they say 2020. There are no budgeted um and professionally gone through budget for 2026 presented. Yes, just unacceptable, awful, and once again, as I say, not even the address is available. Well, not on this website.
Discussions, but it is time for us to sit down and have a conversation, and that is something that we're going to have to prioritize, because we are going to be going into an administration that is broke, and so we're going to have to prioritize. And here was I thinking that in St. John's, one of the first things I would have wanted to do for St. John's, especially in my alma mater, would have been to get us a good school, a new brand school, and that is something that I wanted really to put in the manifesto. But when I look at what the outcry is as it relates to education, it seems to me it is not the plant. That is not what is the focus right now, or the major concern is not necessarily people can tolerate is a school that is disjointed, that is, have a drop shed here and a drop shed there, but as it relates to the quality.
Listen, I would imagine I'm not gonna have too many happy friends like tonight. It's tough to hear, but I would like to hear some pushback. Tell me about Alan you wrong. Cause if he like me does hear people tell me, Alan, you're right too soon. One thing I wanna say about Pat, I haven't listened to this. Pat is not a great communicator. Pat, right now I be trying to hear about education and all kind of different things, and we not hear what the problem be yet. We actually in this scenario we hear a solution. She would have liked to put a new school over there. Um, the thing that I need to understand is this: In order to put the school over there, you got to know what is the budget for education, what are the capital allocations. These things have to be intimately known if you are going to try go in a politics. You can buy. I really want to put a school. I want me school get a new school, and don't understand these dynamics. You are getting ready to do political malpractice, and you not get it dopamine. That's just how me I watch it.
Of the education that is being delivered, people are not comfortable. I'm hearing comments like the kids are not learning anything, that kids are coming out and they don't think that. I mean, I've heard a teacher in discussion saying that she would challenge the assertion that we have a 98% literacy rate because based.
So you see all like them kind of lyrics, yes or something. I'm not saying that people need to be comfortable. What I'm saying is we need to find ways to measure these things. If we are saying that people are not as literate, we are saying that they are not as functional as they should be, we need to find a way to measure these things. And then the next thing is we're gonna go find a solution to this. But just to say that, well, teachers have told me that they are not comfortable. They don't feel good. And they would challenge the assertion that how much ever people are literate. Fine. Fine. Whatever. How are we going to measure this thing? How are we going to determine, hey, we are not making people functionally literate. We're not teaching them things what they're going to use when they actually move out into the world. Let me find a way and let me do it. I could buy that. But this year is like she talking about talking. And that's supposed to be a map only thing.
Based on her interaction with students and the level at which she thought that they should be coming to her, she's quite disappointed and she's not convinced that we have 98% literacy, and she thinks that it's time for us to revise that. But I guess that would happen in due course. But in the meantime, we have to start thinking ahead that this is something that we might want to have a serious series of discussions on as it relates to education and how we can fix the concerns. I'm hearing that kids are coming out and they don't have any manners, and the truth is I've interacted with some kids and I'm like, but is it a reflection of the school, the education in school, or a combination of school and home? So, because the home has a part to play as well as it relates to the upbringing of these kids. And so education is a primary concern in St. John's up to this point. So building a school might have to take a back, but it's a good thing I didn't put it in the manifesto yet, That is something that we'll have to consider. And of course, the cost of living. People are complaining bitterly about the cost of living and the fact that safety social nets seem not to be extended to the persons who really could, or think that they deserve it at this point in time. And life is pretty hard for individuals. Then the issue of food security has come up a couple of times, and I think the main threat.
These things that Pat are just casually going over are things that you could really sit down and spend some time impressing upon the people why these different things are important. When you look at the time taken to discuss certain, certain aspects of destiny, these are real things where you could talk about education. Education so big, you got a whole ministry dedicated towards that day. And it just feel like we casually, it just seem like we got a list and we just mentioning things up on the list.
That people have identified is the monkey. The monkeys seem to be, and so we're hoping that we'll be able to have those kind of conversations with the people in agriculture as well before we roll out our plans as to what are the modalities we need to put in place? What different methods and things like that we can use to control the monkey population? Sorry to use the word modalities, but the different things that we can do to make sure that people get a breather from these monkeys and a breather from the monkeys and be able to produce the things that they like. Because I like certain things. I like to make sure that every Wednesday when I'm cooking my cornmeal, that the okra that I put in it comes from my garden. And I've managed to, up to this point, be able to do a little thing that maybe we may be able to replicate, in that I've established some grow tunnels with nets, and the monkeys have not been bothering them up to this point. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. And so these are things that we'll have to, seriously discuss and make plans for going forward. And so you must attach a budget to these things. We can't just think that we'll have plans and programs and not have the budget to support it. But
Oh my God, this is the whole thing what I'm saying. You are giving me plans and programs without a budget to support it. And these are things what got to be within your control. Listen, you don't even need the CCM budget to look and see what these things does normally be, Whatever these be, you got to start to actively look into it so that you can start to tell people, hey, this is about where we're looking at here. And you got to start to be able to, after you done tell people how much, tell Abby why we need this thing, when it gonna happen, where are the best places. Give us a whole story. Give me a vision. You gonna come and tell me this thing need a budget. We need to know the numbers. I mean, nobody tell me that my upset is not valid.
like I said, we'll have to be realistic. And of course, there was one concern that someone raised as it relates to her position is that she doesn't think that Nivisions or the school leavers coming out of school, that they're well equipped to compete in this small space for the jobs that are available. And so as it relates to CSME and free movement and the preparedness of our people, that is something that we're going to have to spend some time on, educating our people, making sure that there are plans in place to make sure that they remain competitive in their own backyard. You can't be in your own space and can't survive, that you have to leave. And so we have to make sure that our people are well educated, particularly in the skills. Skills training, I know, is something that NRP has emphasized in the past.
My confusion is, if you do not have enough skills to get the job when you come out, where are you leaving to go get work? Okay.
And budgets have been, allocated to make sure that that was a priority area in terms of making sure that people were skilled coming out of school, and that seemed to have fallen off with the CCM administration. But that is something that we'll have to revive and seriously make sure that we allocate a budget for. So that, I think, covers in a nutshell, what the House to House has been up to this point. Like I said, our campaign promises are going to be realistic. When I look at the manifesto, because the last time we were raked over the coals because we didn't have time to produce a manifesto and all that, and so that is something for the other side to laugh at. But when I look at their manifesto, I'm like, what have they really achieved? And these are the same promises that they're bringing time and time again. And I'm saying, boy, I would imagine that this time all they need to do, realistically,
I don't care how much time they got this time. If it is something that is of importance, particularly with artificial intelligence, there is no excuse. Because I could even produce a digital manifesto. But based off of what you're saying, you ain't had enough time, okay? Next time that can't be an excuse.
is just to change the cover, put on some new faces on the cover and just stamp it mark third attempt, because they have not delivered. This is the same thing in terms of what they're promising, that they've been washing and bringing back again. And so I'm looking forward to their cover page for their manifesto, because I'm not thinking that anything in there is going to change. It's like, what have they delivered up to this point? But for them, because we didn't have time last time for a manifesto, that was a big deal. And that continues to be a big deal. I was like, oh, really? You take time to say that NRP didn't have a manifesto, but you had one. What have you delivered? That is the question.
Yeah, I intended to get to that, because I've heard the accusations. And also tied with that is that the NRP comes with no ideas.
Foolish.
And
Foolishness.
I know that makes absolutely no sense.
No.
Because the ideas have been flowing from this side
Of course.
on a weekly basis.
Of course.
But the issue of the manifesto, there's no question that Nigerians don't read as much as they used to. People at the library will tell you that.
Hey, let me tell you something, right? There is no party, there is no political party who will find a way or give you some smart word like the Nevis Reformation Party. These persons here in front of me do not understand that it's not about going to the library, people still a read. Is how them a do it. NRP is of the opinion. NRP still a put up big poster and them thing by on the side of the road, CCM done with that 2013. CCM been in our position and decided, no, I'll be going digital. Whereas look at these two dinosaurs here telling me people not young divisions are not reading like back in their day. Oh my God.
Don't go there as often as we did when we went to school. And the key point is that they produce manifestos, but they don't deliver on the promises within those manifestos.
Right.
Hospital case in point. 10 years going.
Franz Fanon, psychiatrist born in Martinique, talks to how colonial systems will impact us and solutions. I mean, I understand that. Here be grassroots rebellion. If you got any kind of good rebellion, you could tell me about. Cause right now I'm currently listening a lot about slavery. I've learned so much. So if you know anything about any good rebellion, just let me know.
9 years. It passed 9 years last week. And we can't get any solutions to that.
And they want a third attempt at it.
It's unbelievable.
Here what me try to lie about communication, right? Could they have said everything Webby then just said without saying that people don't read like how they used to? Cause that is not the point of what he try to say, But it's like they just can't help themselves. But we got to say that they don't read. Why? What's the point? And as I say, I understand. You don't know. People still read. It's just different mediums. Give them a different medium. Put them in and if they not read, they still absorb information. That's why you hear people say, "Have you all ever heard of clips rather than these long posts?" A man would listen something where it's like a minute. With the same amount of content as your long post. So there, there has to be some type of adjustment in my mind for this to be serious.
But Mondo track, there since 2017, they can't finish it. I have been approached by certain people in sports, and they're basically saying that the Mondo track here, and I've made that point before, will soon have to be ripped up because
Well, this got to be Mr. Listen, I have done extensive research on this. I could go on the website right now because unlike that other website where I show you ain't update, these people update and they tell you when a track was installed and when it's supposed to be extended. They tell you how many extensions you could get. The Mondo track is not available for extension. In order for the Mondo track to be classed again, there will have to be extensive renovation to the track, and then they will have to do some testing. And I'm not talking about testing in one area. They might have to test all the areas of the track, all the lanes of the track, to ensure that all is well. So we are beyond the date. There is no shot at this moment in time. This has quietly gone away because if you mention any renovation to the Mondo chart, the premier will say, I used to run pan grass before me. Before maybe in the premier grass, I have been a run pan me, the one what take I and lie run pan world class surface, etc. etc. Just like I went the other time under the walk around and went to tell people, remember I be put I in a low income house, yeah? 'Cause if you look at the route for the walkabout, you see everywhere they went was in a housing scheme, you know. Go remind people. Remember who put you here?
it is in a dilapidated state. In the meantime, we have not looked at the other aspects of development to get to a stadium. I asked one coach if we could bring the games, the Carifta games here, especially St. Kitts and Nevis, each has a stadium, and the fact that Grenada has hosted it twice in the last 4 years. And that coach said to me, we are light years away from being able to host a Carifta Games.
But NRP would change that. So.
And they say
yes.
that in Grenada, at any one given time, there is about 300.
Pat gonna jump in, boy, yeah, but you know, NRP gonna change that. She don't know how much he gonna cost. Huh? Once again, he don't have the budget, but he jumping in, and is that realistic?
Athletes on the track. So this thing about manifesto and NRP didn't have any, and that's just a red herring because they have and they don't deliver on anything therein. Now let me touch on education for a little while. That is not surprising to me. We know that the education system has been for a long time a bit of a factory. So you move through the classes and there's an attrition rate. And I'm not sure that the end result is what you want in a developing society. In other words, school in Nevis, education in Nevis is still very old school. We know we hear about STEAM, we hear, well now, I don't know if they've introduced AI, for instance, in the schools. Don Libert from Brown will say whether we want to accept it or not, it's the way of the future. So I agree with you that we are not moving with the times. But I'll tell you one area which is surprising a lot of people. We recently had a spelling bee competition sponsored by Dr. Lornette Mills. And Carlisle, of course, is a cousin and represents her in Nevis. She lives in the United States. And I got so many comments from overseas. What's happening to spelling in our schools? They were shocked both at the primary and the secondary school at the level of spelling. When we went to school, they gave us words like Mississippi. So we had to know how many S's, how many P's, how many I's inside there, and we rattled them off.
Yep.
That doesn't seem to be happening in our schools today.
No, and we have to reform. We definitely have to reform, but that takes a lot of conversation, and we can't, as politicians, do it on our own. We're going to need the help of the people in the community, those people who are.
As a psychiatrist, he talked about emancipating the mind. knowing ourselves, healing our minds, ready for the grassroots revolution. All of that like winning stuff.
Engaged in teaching those people who, the teachers and parents need to get together. And they need to recognize what is going on. People need to be honest, frank, and honest. And out of those conversations, then we have to start refashioning what we're going to do to make sure that when our students leave school, they are competitive, that they can fit into the jobs that are available for them. But too often people are complaining that, they can't do some basic manipulations as it relates to math or even comprehension as it relates to English. So those are things that we're going to definitely have to fix, So the next thing I wanted to move on to was destiny. And I've been using this term, and someone tried to challenge me, and I just ignored them, really, because I thought that maybe they should know better. And I've referred to what has gone on with destiny and the CCM as a sellout. And I just want to share with our people what I sellout, what I mean when I say sellout. It doesn't mean that they were the ones who sell the lands, And so I'm not going down that rabbit hole with anybody. So basically, this is what we mean when we say it, and I thought it was a universal, definition. But notwithstanding, let me say it again for those people who want to be cantankerous about these kind of things. It is someone who abandons, at least Meta AI says, that a sellout is someone who abandons their principles, their values, or group for money, fame, or personal gain. And when you see this definition, this encapsulates exactly what has happened with CCM as it relates to destiny. And the reason why I said that, let me explain to our people why we are here at this point, dealing with this thing. We've been talking about destiny as it relates to the impact on our people, the kind of touchy-feely side of it. So up to this point, it has been an emotional argument for some people. Obviously, some people are not in tune. They're not, the touchy-feeling thing is not for them. It's all about the money that they're likely to make. And when you look at the people who are embracing this, that is usually the thing that drives them. And so we want to set aside tonight for a little bit the emotional arguments. We have done that. We have convinced over 70 or maybe closer to 90% of our people that destiny is bad for us as it relates to us as a people and our patrimony. So let us talk about the money part of it now.
This is something women and team remember me upset with. So all of the argument before has been the emotional argument, and is now we getting down to the objective side of things. This is this is so tremendously bad. Anyway, go ahead.
Let us deal, with destiny and what it poses to us, and what we stand to gain or what we stand to lose from destiny. And so I took the time to go through the exercise, and I wanted to do it in different phases.
Sure.
Like before the groundbreaking, what has transpired up to the point? What has to happen before we get there? How is it that we are disadvantaged up to that point? And of course, we have to acknowledge that some people have lands in the area, obviously. Apart from the lands that don't have titles that the CCM government want to steal from Brown Hill people to be able to sell to destiny, we'll deal with that at a different time.
This is not Pat going into her plans and her alternative for what is supposed to happen to over there. This ain't that enough. This is months after Pat still a fight destiny. So now we ain't gonna get the emotional one, we gonna get the objective side. Finally. And you wouldn't believe everything what we say about destiny. When they didn't talk about destiny already see and saying is only from the objective side, Cause me hear people say them are gonna do X. And when me look, me see A, B, and C. Saying up and seem reasonable to me. But look here.
But as it relates to the lands that are being sold, at the point when they would have submitted the development agreement for consideration to to Dr. Drew, to the Prime Minister, I understand that at that point in time they had 825 acres already in what they we claim that they have a legal interest in, meaning that they either would have purchased or they have a lease or they have a arrangement to purchase, something like that. And so only 800, and with all the cataflang that they're making, only 825 acres, I understand they had at that point when they were sending in the development agreement. And that is far shy of the 2,670, I think it's 2670 acres that they are claiming in the development agreement is what their target acreage is. And so when we look at what this means, it means that a few people are likely, or let's say several persons, are likely to become landless millionaires because they're going to dispose of the land. After that, they have no access to it again, but they will become some millionaires. You know, some a little more than others. I understand that one of the ministers, the architect one, is in line to collect $2.2 million for his. So you see, you're making millionaires, and
This is just, and this is how come now. I would like to know, how does the average man on the ground feel? And happy vibes is, well, only them are gonna make money. And CCM vibes is, well, Pata make money too. And other NRP people are make money too. So when I be on the side of the road, and I'll be a try scramble get I'll be $10 or buy the $10 Guineas now. And I determine, well, who a landless millionaire and who a millionaire with land and all that kind of thing there. You feel like the public got time over here all of your choppiness? By me. Go ahead. Let me go, Pat.
these are people who, mind you, who have to sign off on this thing, and they don't seem to think that conflict of interest plays a role right here, or they seem not to care about it anyway. So if it is that we are going to say that we're going to grant them the 2760 acres, we're going to sell them, however they're going to come by it, at, let's say, average of $5 per square foot, because there's precedence apparently. The National Bank would have had some lands in the area and they would have sold that for some $51.8 million. And that was, I think, was for 238 acres. And so when I did the math, it came out to about $5 per square foot. So we're going to use that as an average. It is true, let me just state that for the record, that some persons were offered more, because it depends. If you have a smaller piece and you're giving trouble, they figure they could offer you more. And so some people obviously have been offered more, up to $10 a square foot. I've heard, you know, some people got offers for, and then there were people who even were offered less than $5 a square foot. So just as an average, if we use the $5 a square foot as an average, it means that coming from Destiny to the people who have lands
Maybe use $5.50, but we in the same ballpark.
in the area would be like $600 million, $600.3 million. But let us just round it off to $600 million. Now, with these kind of transactions, the stamp duty and other duties, I think it's like 10%. It means that the NIA would collect $61 million. Things bad in the Treasury. So I would imagine that with glee, they're rubbing their hands together and counting. You know, just like the Premier went over and by the port and saw 71 cars coming in from Japan, used cars, and thought that there was an opportunity to collect some money. You know, that was a big deal. So you could imagine how he is, you know, falling over, doing cartwheels with the $61 million that is likely to come into the Treasury because things bad. However, when we look at what the realtor commission is, if we calculate a 5 to 6% of the total value of these lands, this $600 million, now the realtor stands to benefit between $30 and $36 million.
With an M?
Just the realtor, with an M, because we're talking about
The number there a little bit light, but
5 to 6% of $600 million, which is the value of the land. And the commission that the realtor gets is based on the value of the land that is being exchanged. And so you're talking about between 30 and 36 million dollars. I'm not going to say that he's not a Nivision getting it, but he's not a Nivision getting it.
See, this is the first of all, one rule that we have one time, anytime you're dealing with Alan, do not trouble Sharon Brantley. Do not ever trouble Sharon Brantley. I'm going to defend him again and I'm going to ask her one question. If Sharon ain't a division by this point, then my God, what the hell else he going to do? And why be do with certain other people? At this point in time, is Sunshine a thinking man self? You tell me. Tell me if I say go. He got too much of people who not born a Nevis and who have made their life in a Nevis and them a Nivision in them ass by now. Sharon Brantley is more for and from the Federation at this point than Perspective Media, and Perspective Media get up in your soul and gone Africa with the Jamaican flag. Me could hear you say it's a light moment. Me no want them kind of joke. They do not trouble Sharon. In a had to say so. In a being, you know, hear what he say. I don't want to say he's not a division. Get the money, but he's not a division. Don't watch him. If you are boss joke about Sharon, then make sure that the joke's sweet. Make sure that the joke's sweet. But do not, under no circumstances, trouble Sharon Brantley. That's it. That's all. And that's how he gonna always be. Unless he say he wanna run a politics. Then I'll trouble him and I'll better trouble the policies. But do not trouble Sharon. That's it.
Then we come to the legal and registration fees. As a percentage, that would be about between $6 and $15 million. We're talking about legal and registration fees, and guess who is likely, the law firm that is more likely than any other in Nevis to be handling those transactions? I'm not going to say it's DBA? DBA. I'm not going to say it's DBA, but, you know, people are saying it is likely that it would be, you know, Daniel Brantley and whoever else. And so if we were to take this, look at this thing, what we are suggesting here is that just one family is likely to get between 36 and 53 and $51 million. Just listen to that. The family that stands to benefit most from this transaction, this exchange of $600 million worth of land, they're not going to be selling not even 1 square foot of land, but they stand to benefit close to $50 million.
Listen here, right? We're gonna close out now because it's after 9 and because I'm getting progressively more upset. Once again, the NRP has spoken time and time again. You can't talk to an NRP politician for a year without hearing about destiny and how bad it be and how much the Brantley family and this other family are gonna be making money from it. Cool. Not knocking you. What I'm asking is, look on how much a advertisement Destiny don't get from NRP. And as at this time yet, have you heard the alternative that they're gonna bring to that? Where is the alternative? All I be here now. Well, that one ain't gonna make money. That one ain't gonna. Okay, okay. And maybe I got a different path. Political tribalism has got the majority of us mindless followers. Are we going to talk solutions? Well, I've definitely been talking about solutions. Over there for me seem ripe for a solar energy farm. And to me, it seems to make sense too. Hold on a second, ladies and gentlemen. The puppy a walk. Come on. Come. I hope I could see you pretty, right? She a walk. Just come on, ginger cage. Uh, for me, I see how over there could be. For me, I see how over there could be transformed. I see how over there could be cleaned up, and we put a pile of solar panel over there. And I also see examples of how that could revitalize the greenery over there. And be good for. Let me go. Wait, be at the back. Let me care about boy, your mother, you see? Let me care about boy, your mother. I beg you, hold she in the daddy. So I see circumstances where an alternative vision for over there would be something attractive to people. You cannot simply run a negative campaign. We have gotten accustomed in the islands to a negative campaign. Don't vote for them. Don't support this. Don't go there. Stop. Do not, etc., etc. We are not hearing consistently, hey, let's let's talk about the things about us that are attractive. Let we talk about the things that we gonna do that are gonna be attractive. We don't hear those positive circumstances. And then we get politicians who say, oh no, you got to be negative. No, 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 no. You got to be lazy. And I got to deal with the fact that you're negative. But that's not necessarily what people want. You have to articulate the vision. You can't say that you don't know anybody who supports destiny. You need to go seek them out and find out, well, what is it about destiny that is so attractive? Because just how the concerned citizens movement has come with plans for what they would do, which is nothing, wash their hand and collect taxes, you may come with a different plan and a different way to utilize over there. And people might be able to see their future in a that plan rather than this thing what we currently have dealing with. Anyway, I hope that you are able to see a poster with me and a guest for next week. We would be talking, as I say, about um, concepts that we have spoken about here already. Concepts like proportional representation. Um, what else? I got a list of things. I did a whole set of notes. Let me see. Let me see. Public debates, campaign finance laws, the bureaucracy. We got some good stuff, and I know it's some like things that maybe here go with them, but when you hear that that what me I talk about, you're gonna say, oh yeah, 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 we need that for real. Big up to everybody If you, as I say, if you was in New York for the diaspora meeting, loving what going on. Cause up to now I tell you, I don't see no video with the kind of with the kind of money was spent on the ticket them and the airline and the fact that they were up there from Wednesday. Wednesday, you know, they had to go up there. I don't even know if they're back yet. But for the time that was spent, we need to know something. And the last thing I want to say about that diaspora meeting, there, I'm very confused by the fact that this thing was promoted and sent about by the CCM political page specifically. And then somehow this thing turned into for official business. Is CCM the NIA? And for those of you in the concerned citizens movement, you are a very powerful party. You have been very successful in local elections for the most part. Do not get yourself confused and feel like CCM is the NIA. Remember, at all moments in time, the NIA is bigger than CCM. The NIA is bigger than NRP. It would be a mistake for any party to feel like they are one and the same with the government. You are in charge of the government, and we understand that, and you're not gonna get no disrespect for that. But there is a difference between the Sinkits Labour Party and the Sinkis government, for example, so that you're not gonna see. And we do not see down in Sinkits this same behavior. It is inappropriate and unacceptable. If the taxpayers pay for this, CCM, stay out of it. It's a government thing. Back your people from the sidelines. But it can't come out first in a them areas there. And then you is like, oh, but it's official. Really? Okay. But anyway, good night. Thank you for interacting. Thank you all for being here. Hope you like, share, and subscribe. Tune in to Banky and Yasan tomorrow with the topics. It's clear that I doesn't know who will be a command. Every time I say is this person, they might end up fast and let me know is that person. But whoever is the guest, tune in to them and see them thing. Like, share, and subscribe. Put it on in a bar. Tell people, ask people if they're not here where we have been a talk about, and you continue to have your discussions to farm your clubs, because at the end of the day, it is important, and at the end of the day, it's night too. But we got to build a momentum to get rid of the analog mentality. Anyway, all the best. Everybody take care. Don't even have on this line up by. Okay, so you see the my family, Mr. Herbert is on tomorrow. So that the way, so that mean that's an African discussion. I know already. I know already that I got beef when I see the poster, but me not make no noise. Anyway, tomorrow.
So the people read between the lines. Rent life, rent life. Everybody tune in live, tune in live. Global topics, deep analysis, audience interaction every night. All up on the live stream sharp, breaking down the news and the world affairs part. From the islands to the White House, every headline get dissected right now. No noise, no gimme talk, pure facts when all I start walk. Economics, politics, two Caribbean lens on the global view. Shut a light up, non-stop. Viewers calling, comments drop. Everybody got a voice tonight. Reasoning deep till the morning light. We not follow every trend. We are search the truth again. Real analytics, no pretend. Quality time set the standard again. Quality time every Monday night. Alan keep the people minds ignite. Live reactions, facts inside. Friend keep the conversation bright. Quality time every Monday night. From the Caribbean to worldwide hype. Come and share, interact live. Everybody on the street tonight. I'm talking war and trade. I'll break it down so the truth get displayed. Stock market rise and fall. How it really affect the small and all. When the leaders make decisions, I'll watch close with precision. Deep analysis every week, giving voices to the ones who seek. Audience calling from abroad. Never sink it's London Yard, Florida, Jamaica too. Everybody locked in for the global view. Reason with the people now.